Hey St. Mary, grade 8s. It's Mr. McHenry back for a lesson on adding integers. And just before we get started, we want to show some things here. So we often, when we're adding integers, we can use some models to do that. So we often consider a positive sign there to be equal to a positive 1. Okay, and then a negative sign here to be equal to negative 1. And some of you may be thinking right now, what's he going to do? Well, we know that we can take these two together, and when we put them together, they form what we call a zero pair. Okay, so that's equal, and a zero pair is equal to 0. And we use zero pairs when we're adding integers. That's because we know that if we have a number and we add 0 to it, it equals the number. So similarly, when we're using these symbols here, if we have 3, which would be positive 3 positives, and we add a 0 pair, it is still, and this crosses out because the positive and negative cross out, it is still going to equal 3. Okay, so we're going to use those 0 pairs when we are adding integers. So we're going to do some examples. We're going to use these tiles, we'll call them. So the first, so this is using tiles. And the first example here that we're going to do is positive 5 plus positive 3. Okay, so positive 5, so that means I have 5 positive tiles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to add another 3 positive tiles, so that's another 3 here. And then, so as a result, how many positive tiles do I have? I have positive 8. Okay, our next example is going to be positive 5 plus negative 3. And again, using tiles, I have 5 positive tiles. But this time I'm going to add 3 negative tiles. So I've added those 3 negative tiles, and what do I see? Well, I see some 0 pairs. So there's 1 0 pair, 2 0 pair, 3 0 pair. Cross those out. What am I left with? I'm left with 2 positive tiles. So positive 5 plus negative 3 is equal to positive 2. Okay, our third example, negative 5 plus positive 3. So I'm going to start with 5 negative tiles. I'm going to add 3 positive tiles. And again, what do I see? I see some 0 pairs that have been made, so I circle those and cross them out because they're just 0. What am I left with? I'm left with 2 negative tiles. So negative 5 plus positive 3 is equal to negative 2. And our last example here is negative 5 plus negative 3. So I start with 5 negative tiles. And I'm going to add another 3 negative tiles. And so what do I have? I have 8 negative tiles. So negative 5 plus negative 3 is equal to negative 8. Okay, and using tiles to add integers is great. If you need to do that, that's great. Just want to move on to something else and see, maybe you noticed something when we were doing this. So the first question that we had was positive 5 plus positive 3. And what we see here is that we have the addition operation symbol, it's a plus, but we also have a plus here, or a positive on the integer number. So these two are the same. They have the same sign. Okay, so as a result of it being the same sign, we can add 3 to 5. So we can write this as positive 5 plus, and then we're just going to write in the number here, 3. And so we add positive 5 plus, and remember there's that itty bitty plus sign in there. 3 is positive 8. Okay, the next example that we did was positive 5 plus negative 3. Well, we have the plus or operation sign, so that's a positive, and we have the negative 3. So these two signs are different. So they have different sign here. So if it's a different sign, we are going to subtract 3 from 5. So we can rewrite this as positive 5 subtract, okay, subtract, and then we just write in the integer number 3 here. So positive 5 subtract 3 is equal to positive 2. The next one, negative 5 plus positive 3. Again, we look at this, there's the addition sign, so a plus there sign, a positive 3, so a plus there, so we have the same sign. So we're going to add 3 to negative 5. So we can rewrite this as negative 5 plus, and then we write in 3 here. So negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. And then the last example that we did was negative 5 plus negative 3. And we look at these signs here again, and we see a positive and a negative, so we have a different sign. So we're going to subtract 3 from 5, so we can rewrite that as negative 5 subtract, and we just write in the integer number there, 3. So negative 5 subtract 3 is equal to negative 8. All right, so there's some stuff going on there, and we want to capture that. So if we have the same sign, we're adding the integer number. If it's a different sign, we're going to subtract the integer number, and we can capture that in a chart form. Okay, so if the operation sign, in this case, the operation sign is addition, so adding or a positive, and if it's a positive integer, we have an addition sign, a positive, plus a positive integer. We have that they are the same sign. So we are going to add the number. We're going to add the integer number. An example of that is if we had positive 2 plus positive 5. We look at this and we say, oh, two positives here, so I'm just going to rewrite this as positive 2 plus, and I bring in just the number here, 5. So positive 2 plus 5 is positive 7. Okay, another example, just to get some negative numbers in here. So negative 3 plus positive 7. Okay, so negative 3, I look at this and I say, oh, same sign, so I'm just going to add the number here. I'm going to add 7. So negative 3 plus 7 is positive 4. Okay, now, what about if we have a negative integer? Okay, so we have the operation sign is addition, positive, but we have a negative integer. So we look at the signs and we say a positive and a negative, so they're different signs. So we are going to subtract the number. Okay, so we'll do an example again. So we have positive 2 plus negative 5. Okay, I look at this and I say, okay, positive 2 stays the same. I look at these two here and I say, oh, different signs. Okay, so that means if they're different signs, I'm going to subtract the number. So I have positive 2 minus 5 is going to be negative 3. And again, one more example, just starting with a negative number. Negative 3 plus negative 7. Okay, so it's going to be negative 3. What am I going to do there? Well, I look at this and, oh, they're different signs, so that means I'm going to subtract. So I'm going to subtract the number that's there, subtract 7. So negative 3 subtract 7 is negative 10. Okay, so that's adding integers. If you're not there yet in terms of you looking at the operation sign and the integer sign and determining whether you're adding or subtracting, that's okay. You can use the tiles to help you out with that. In some cases, maybe we'll ask you to use tiles to prove it one way and then also prove it looking at the operation sign and the integer sign. And again, you can look for some practice questions on the D2L site.